Okay, it's time now for a run-through of some of the international newspaper front pages this Wednesday morning. And joining me to do that is my panel of guests. They are Heather Walker, editor of The South African, and the publisher of Africa Briefing, John Offe-Ansah. A very good morning to both of you. And John, we're going to start with you first. Yeah. Now, you have chosen This Day newspaper. This is the Nigerian newspaper and the best-selling daily on the continent. And hopefully we should have the animation, but again, one of the stories that we've been focusing on, and this is the spread of the Ebola virus and efforts by the Nigerian authorities to trace those who were affected with it. Yeah,
these days, not only the most authoritative paper, but my favorite as well. Anyway, it's reporting on the efforts by the Lagos state government, to, number one, allay the fears, any unnecessary anxieties, by the people, and also reassure them that it is screening everybody they believe might have been in contact with Patrick Sawyer, the librarian who died, and also the doctor who treated him and got infected. But this is it's a bit, I find it a bit worried because the doctor, I mean, obviously she must be a married woman. So if she was infected, who knows, maybe that she might not have infected maybe her husband and the rest of her nuclear family.
Yes, the trace line, basically.
Yeah. But it appears the Lagos state government, and therefore the federal government as a whole, are taking the right steps to contain, the spread of the virus. But the most worrying thing is that Africa's borders are porous.
Yes.
Very porous, right? So no matter how much stringent they are on screening at the former borders, the airports, the seaports, or whatever, there are a lot of land borders where people cross to and fro, and such people, will slip through the nets.
Yes.
So that is the most worrying aspect. But on the whole, I applaud the measures being taken by the state government and also the federal government to contain the virus, number one, and also to allay any unnecessary fears.
So it's actually all sides working together on this rather than working against each other, because there's so much at stake.
And it's also very heartening that the WHO has contributed $100 million. World Bank also providing $200 million. And the African Development Bank also providing $60 million, to help combat, the spread of the disease across the sub-region.
Sure. Okay. Heather, let's move on to your choice. Now, you have chosen the British newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, and buried beneath the front page somewhere is the headline, TV debate leaves England in the dark and Salmond on the ropes. Now, that's a reference to the television debate which took place yesterday regarding Scotland's destiny, because the vote on independence takes place next month. Salmond being Alex Salmond, who's the leader, well, he's Scotland's First Minister, and of course he wants to push forward the independence agenda.
Yes, well, the story caught my eye because I was one of those people who wanted to watch the debate and struggled. It wasn't being broadcast on our, in England, as it was only being broadcast, they said, where it would affect people who are able to vote in the independence issue. And so I went online, the site was crashing, everybody was really angry, and nobody could work out exactly why they felt this was an issue that people in England didn't want to see.
Yeah, that was quite extraordinary, actually, because, well, geographically we're bound together.
Exactly.
This idea that somehow English viewers wouldn't be interested in seeing which way the vote's likely to go.
I was really interested to see that, to see this between Alistair Darling, who is very pro, he's part of the Better Together campaign. Apparently, he ended up kind of winning the debate hands down in the end. I shall have to search it out later today.
Because there were sort of highlights of the debate on the television news bulletins, but just picking up these highlights, it doesn't really give you a sense of the full context, really.
Absolutely. I mean, the TV news channel said the debate will, of course, be covered as a news story in our news programmes broadcast to the whole of the UK, and that was their justification for not showing the whole thing. But we'll have to see what went down in the end. But supposedly Salmond was unable to provide any economic policies to do with Scotland's independence, and that's why the other man got the upper hand, supposedly. So.
There are quite a few undecideds out there, so it's possible that these debates, because this is the first of another 2 or 3, however many, but it's possible that these debates could certainly solve that riddle for some people, which way they're going to vote. John, let's return to another of your choices, and again, sticking with this day, we've done the Ebola story, and the other one which caught your eye, which I suppose is understandable because you're also a business journalist as well, is this Africa Summit in the United States and this pledge of $33 billion in investment commitments.
America is pushing hard. Like I said yesterday, it is trying to join the bandwagon, right? And I think if these measures are taken, it's going to be it's a two-way street. You know, Africa is so power deficient, right? And power without adequate power, you know, progress wouldn't be as fast or as quick as we expect it to be, right? So providing the 33 billion and then taking 12 billion out of it for power infrastructure, you know, is a very good thing. Okay, and again, there's good also to be, there will be 14 billion, you know, investments across various sectors, you know, through the private sector. And it's again appeal to Congress not to close down the U.S. Exim Bank, the Export-Import Bank. This bank provides support to U.S. businesses that seek to do business or trade or invest in Africa, right? Because this, like I said, this is a two-way street. I mean, with the AGUA that was introduced by President Clinton, you know, it's created 350,000 jobs in Africa, and also correspondingly created 100,000 jobs in America. So any measures that, you know, that are taken is bound to be mutually beneficial. But America left a bit late, but it's better late than never.
Of course. Let's move on to your choice, Heather. You've chosen the Times of India, and the story there, India ranked number 8 on global list of multi-millionaires. Now, it's interesting that you're a multi-millionaire if you have assets or wealth of about 10 million.
Yes.
I thought it would be more than that, personally.
It doesn't seem to be very much. But according to this list, India's actually got more multimillionaires than Australia, Russia, or France. So I suppose this might come as a surprise to some people because we all perceive India as a sort of very poverty-stricken country, and of course it is to a certain extent, but it is a rising player on the international stage, and there is obviously a vast amount of inequality leading to this huge number of multimillionaires, although as you point out, it's not a huge amount to be classified as a
Well, I
multimillionaire.
certainly don't have 10 million.
No, I don't either. But apparently there are 14,800 multimillionaires in India.
So India is the place to go.
Yes,
right.
You want investors or to invest in anything.
Excellent, right, so we'll get our passports ready. Heather, John, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid, because time plays against us. But thank you so much for that thorough analysis of the newspapers, and hopefully we'll see you again at some juncture.
Certainly.
Excellent.